Alright guys, nandito tayo sa Love Jerusalem. Guys, puntahan natin yung Western Wall Tunnel. Dadaan tayo sa guys, sa Jaffa Gate. Ang bablog natin ngayon guys, pasukin natin yung tunnel sa Western Wall sa hotel. Right guys, hindi natin napasok noon kasi wala tayong ticket. Kailangan natin ng debit card. Now, meron na. Yan guys, kita natin yung tunnel kasi may tunnel doon sa Western Wall. Alright guys, we're going to enter the entrance here in the old city. We're going inside the old city through west to the through Jaffa Gate. Good guys, from Jaffa Gate to the Western Wall. Good guys, it's difficult for me to speak English, but I will try. Alright guys,
Your thing? Yeah, no, so that's my big problem. Really stressful.
but guys, we are now entering the Jaffa Gate. Guys, I'm so excited to enter the tunnel of Western Wall. It's my first time to go there guys. Now we can see it now for the first time. Alright guys, see you in the Western Wall. Alright guys, we are here in the Western Wall, Wailing Wall. Now that's the Wailing Wall, Western Wall. It's very wide here. A lot of people. You can see it guys, like this. We will see the Western Wall tunnel sites. We are going there guys. 6:40. We'll go inside 6:40 in the afternoon. I will show you where is the entrance of the tunnel. It is there. Later on we will go there guys. Western Wall tunnel sites. Here's the Western Wall. Alright guys, this is our ticket. We go there 10 minutes before 6:40. We go there early. so that we'll know it will not be lost. Because we have a tour guide. English. This is the entrance, guys. Go inside here. And wait. Okay, so we go inside. Check here if what's the information here. Excuse me, sir.
Hi. Wait.
Hi, wait dyan. Okay, thank you very much, sir. Okay, waiting tayo, guys. May kuwan tayo badge. Parang kung sa kalagay sa kamay, guys. Wait natin sa cafe natin. Ano ito ilagay, guys? Sana may kasama tayo mga Pilipino. Guys, nalagay ko na yung pan natin. Yung tawag dito. Yung parang tatak para makita ko nung papasok na tayo, guys. Ay, ano yung tawag dito? Basta, gano'n yan. Parang ito yung this is our pass going inside the tunnel. We will wait until 6 minutes to go, guys. Pasok tayo mamaya dyan. Guys, papasok na daw tayo. Yellow brisket. Guys, pasok na tayo. Pero maraming tao kaya lang makita. Start na daw. English speaking tayo, guys. Speak. Medyo malamig dito, guys. Medyo malamig tayo. Please respect the hobbies. Yan, respect na natin, guys. Medyo madilim-dilim siya, guys. Okay lang. Pero kailangan bilisan daw. Mabilis siya eh. Ayan, guys.
Went to Warsaw. Stayed at the hotel.
Kaya ito, guys.
Right? Everybody. It's a
Tingnan
very
natin,
big
guys.
tour. So we're going to.
Tingnan natin ito, guys. Sa Lito Natura. Guys, makita natin yung tour.
My name is Pacheva. Okay.
Siguro.
I grew up in America and I've been living here for about 8 years. So I just want to see where people are from. And that way I know the different languages that you all speak. So where are you from?
Philippines.
Philippines.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Spain. Oh, we have the UN. Okay. Where? United States in the back. United States.
Okay.
Poland.
Ako lang natin
Okay.
yung Philippines dito, guys.
UK. US. Australia. Are you together with the Australians? Okay. Yeah. Oh, it's a party. Okay. That's
Tingnan mo,
right.
guys. Oh.
Where are you? The US. Okay.
Old talaga.
Where are you from? Romania.
Pan.
Okay.
Talagang pan. Original. Noon, guys.
Okay, great. And in the back? Italy. Okay, so we have a lot of languages. If I speak too quickly, because I just start talking, stop me. Let me know, okay? Say stop. If you can't hear me, right, somehow something goes wrong, let me know, okay? I'm going to introduce you to Jerusalem, and I'm going to do a little bit of history in the beginning, because I have really good props, right? I have this, I have the screen. I hope I have the screen. Maybe I don't have the screen. got the screen. Can you do me a favor and just check with them, see what's going on? Maybe there's like a switch. Okay. We have this. Okay, we're going to stick with this until we figure out what's going on with the screen. Okay. This is the center point of Jerusalem. This is Mount Moriah, okay? Mount Moriah is the physical and the spiritual focal points of everything that goes on in the city, right? Hi, welcome. On top of Mount Moriah is a place called the Foundation Stone. It's actually a stone. It's a thing. It's a stone. It's right here on the top of the hill. And according to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, there's a tradition that this is the place where spirituality meets physicality, right? Whereas the Jewish poets say, where heaven touches earth. Okay, so it's a very complicated, mystical idea, but essentially that the spiritual world has to come into contact with the physical world at some point. So according to Judaism, that point is here, on top of Mount Moriah, which might also explain, you know, what are we all fighting about, right? So that's a little bit of the importance of this area, okay? In ancient times, we have Abraham and Isaac coming to Mount Moriah for the sacrifice of Isaac, okay? We also have King David from biblical times coming up from the south, conquering the area of Jerusalem from the Jebusites, and actually purchasing the area that the temple will stand on but from the Jebusites as well. His son, King Solomon, builds the first temple. Again, it's about this big. It's on top of the crest of Mount Moriah. Okay? King Solomon's temple stands for 410 years. 410. And then come the Babylonians. The Babylonians come through. They destroy the temple, destroy Jerusalem, bring most of the Jews with them back to Babylonia. Okay? 70 years later, with the encouragement of King Cyrus, the Persian king, Jews come back to Jerusalem and rebuild. It's around the time of the book of Esther. If anybody reads the Bible, right? The book of Esther, it's that time frame. Okay? Jews come back to Jerusalem and they rebuild. That's the Second Temple period. Next come the Greeks. The Greeks come through and they don't destroy the city. They don't destroy the temple, but they capture it. Okay? They come through with Alexander the Great. And when Alexander the Great dies, his top generals all grab as much land as they can, and you have the Greek Empire splitting into 4 sections. Here in the land of Israel, you have the Egyptian Greek Empire to the south, and the Syrian or Seleucid Greek Empire to the north. They fight over who's going to control the land of Israel. Eventually, the Syrian Greeks get the upper hand. They get pushy. They say everybody has to be Greek like we are. And there's a rebellion, the time of the Hanukkah rebellion, right? The Maccabees or the Hasmoneans, about 167 BCE. Okay? Next come the Romans, right? The Romans come through and they say, oh, we have so much land, we can't manage it all by ourselves. We're going to create different provinces, right? And we're going to put people in charge that will collect taxes, right? Collect the money and make sure that we Romans stay in charge. Okay? They appoint a person named Herod. Right? He's the most famous person that is here in Jerusalem. Herod looks at the Second Temple from the time of the Maccabees. It's still about this big. He says, we need something much, much bigger. We need a Roman-style temple. We need a Roman-sized temple. And so this is what we're going to do. So Herod starts this building project in 20 BC, or 20 BCE. He takes off the northwest corner of the mountain next to Mount Moriah, and he says, watch what we're going to do. We're going to expand. He'll use this for building material. Okay, he builds a platform. Right, this platform is what will hold the Second Temple of Herod. Okay, so you can see already that we've expanded tremendously, and we've expanded height-wise as well. The Second Temple of Herod was 22 stories tall. In the ancient world, that's pretty big. Okay, just by comparison, the Dome of the Rock is 10 stories tall. So you can imagine how much larger this was. Okay, it's made of white marble and gold. So it was very dazzling, like the sun would hit it and it would be blinding. Okay? This platform is still here, right? This platform is still here. In fact, what started 2,000 years ago remains. This is the western wall of the retaining wall, right? This is the northern wall, the southern wall, the eastern wall, right? When we talk about the western wall outside, we're talking about the western retaining wall, not the wall of the temple. Because in 70 CE, the temple is destroyed by the Romans, right? The Jews revolt against the Romans, and by 70 CE, the rebellion is put down, and the temple is destroyed. But this platform stays, okay? This platform stays, and everybody's going to use it going forward in time, okay? So according to many historians, the Romans built a temple to Jupiter here, on top of where the Jewish temple was, okay? Fast forward, the Roman pagans become Roman Christians, and that's the Byzantine time here in Jerusalem. It's around 300 to 600 CE, or AD, okay? In the early 600s, Muhammad comes out of the Arabian desert, conquers North Africa, conquers the Middle East. By 638, Caliph Omar is here in the city of Jerusalem. Jerusalem is now a Muslim city. And by 691, we have the Dome of the Rock on top of the place where the Jewish temple was, right? It's the foundation stone, Dome of the Rock, the same idea. According to Muslim tradition, the foundation stone is the place from which Muhammad ascends to heaven on his winged horse Al-Buraq, okay, which is why it also plays prominently in Muslim ideology, Muslim tradition. Okay? Crusaders come into the city in 1099. They're pushed out of the land of Israel by around 1250. And then there's a time period in Jerusalem called the time of the Mamluks. M-A-M-L-U-K. The Mamluks are Muslim, right? The Crusaders are gone. The Mamluks decide that they want to elevate the entire city. They want to raise it up, right? They build these vaults and arches, and they put their city up above. And when they build these vaults and arches, they cover over everything that was here from the time of the Crusades and the early Muslims and the Byzantines, the Romans, the Jews, the Canaanites. Now all of that is underground. And the Mamluks are up above. Okay? If you walk through the Muslim quarter, the Christian quarter, you're going to see a lot of Mamluk architecture. They were here in the 1300s and the 1400s. So you're seeing things that are 700 to 750 years old, but that's kind of recent here in Jerusalem. Okay? In 1517, the Ottoman Turks come in and take over the city. By 1917, the Ottoman Empire is falling apart, World War I, and the British are here in Jerusalem with General Allenby. Between 1948 and 1967, the Jordanians hold the old city of Jerusalem. In 1967, the city will change again with the Six-Day War. Okay? In the Six-Day War, we have the Israelis fighting the Egyptians to the south, the Syrians to the north, and the Jordanians to the east. Okay? The IDF on the third day of the war comes up and over from the eastern side, up and over the Haram, or the Temple Mount. They find the Western Wall area. They sing, they dance, they blow the shofar, and then within a week, this plaza area is cleared. The Maghrabi quarter was in this area, and it was falling down. The Jordanians also wanted to get rid of it and clear it out. The Israelis cleared it out, and they gave compensation to the people who were living there. And they also gave the control of the Temple Mount. The Israeli government gave control of the Temple Mount back to the Jordanian religious authority, the Waqf, W-A-Q-F. Okay, so right now we are underneath one of the vaults that the Mamluks built, 1300s, 1400s, about 750 years ago. We are going to go out the door and to the left. Questions? You can always ask me questions. Yes? Good? Okay, we're going this way and over.
Okay, stop tayo dito guys. Kabila daw tayo. Ayan guys. Medyo nag-experience si Ma'am. Ayan guys. Malos daw sa taas to guys, Muslim quarter na. Kaya lakad daw tayo papunta doon sa kabila. Sisimula pa lang tayo guys. Parang ikutin natin to. Ito yung tunnel na sinasabi nila na parang na-recover. Kasi nga dinaganan ng kon eh. Dinaganan nila guys eh. Ayan. Complete guide tayo guys ha. Okay, dito tayo sa anong tong
So I hope you like architecture. Okay. Just get a few more tunnels in the tunnel tour. Okay, come on in. Pretend you're getting on an Israeli bus. You gotta like get in there with your arm. All right. Where are we? We are underneath this great bridge. Okay, Herod builds. He starts with the bridge from the time of the Maccabees. The Maccabees start the Great Bridge. Herod, of course, expands on it. Everything that Herod has to do has the word great next to it. So now we have the Great Bridge. Herod the Great Bridge. Okay, this Great Bridge brings people and water. It's also an aqueduct. Brings people and water across the valley from the western side onto the Temple Mount. Okay, so the bridge starts. Okay, the Crusaders come to the city in 1099, and they want to build a chapel on top of the Great Bridge, a chapel to Saint Gilles. Joe, my French is terrible. Giles. Who speaks French? Somebody? Nobody? Yes? Nobody's from France?
Giselle probably knows.
Huh?
I'm not from France.
You're not from France. Gilles, I think it's Giles. Oh, you're from Canada, right? You could probably do it. All right. Oh, from the French side. Okay. So they come, the Crusaders are good builders, right? They're, everybody's multifaceted, right? So the Crusaders come in and they kind of take over the city and kill all the Muslims and all of the Jews, but they're really good builders. And they know how to build with stone, okay? So they want to build on top of the Great Bridge, but they have to come down underneath the Great Bridge to make sure that where they put their chapel is going to hold up, right? They need to make sure that underneath the Great Bridge it's strong enough to hold the chapel up above. So the Crusaders come down and they say, it's not strong enough. So what do the Crusaders do? They bring their own architecture. They bring architecture from Northern Europe here to Jerusalem. And what we're going to see are early Muslim arches, right, that were fixed up from the time of Herod, that are round, okay? And the Crusader arches that come to a point, that look like they're straight out of France, because they are, right? They're straight out of France. They come to a point and they have a keystone. A keystone looks like an upside-down triangle with the bottom cut off, okay? So we're going to go through this area of the tunnels. I'm going to hold my phone, and I'm going to say, look, this is a flashlight. Look, this is early Muslim. That's Crusader. It's got a point, and it's got a keystone, and you're going to say, wow, okay? And then we're going to go a little farther along, and you'll look down through a window to see how high up we are from street level. The Great Bridge was really great, right? Underneath the bridge, from the street level to the top of the archway is 22 meters. Right, so it was quite a great bridge. Okay, yeah, wow. Okay, you're practicing. I appreciate that. Okay, let's go. Oh, this tour is very not friendly to tall people. Okay, tall people, watch your noggin, watch your head.
They are from the rebellion. Habians are from the rebellion against the Romans.
Okay, so ang galing guys. Ito guys, kunting ikot tayo guys dito. guys, oh. Parang puro bato. Bato na lang. Bato na lang nakikita natin, guys. Apa ito, guys? Parang konsa, oh. Na parang anong tawag dito, iskinita rin siya, guys. Iskinita. Ang lamig, guys. Traffic, guys, traffic. Malapit na tayo, guys, papasok, guys.
Like meters around the street to the top of the underneath arch.
Yan, yan, guys.
There you
Ito
go.
na to.
Vowels. The vowels are good. Okay. There you go. Early Muslim,
Early Muslim,
Crusader. This is
Crusader.
also Crusaders holding up what was the chapel up above us.
Okay.
Okay. You're the last people coming through.
Yes.
Okay, good. Early Muslim,
Early
okay.
Muslim.
This is Crusader, right? This was built later, about 400 years after this. The Crusaders come and they want to hold up their chapel. They built like a church on top of the bridge. They want to make sure it's going to stay up strong enough, so they build their
Crusaders.
own
You see,
arches
Crusaders.
to make sure it's strong. Okay, and look through the window and see how high we are. That's right. Okay.
Ayun.
Right? It looks like it's from
Ito, tingnan nyo,
medieval
guys,
Europe.
parang
Okay.
So is this one
Yeah. Yeah.
medieval too?
Okay, everybody.
talagang iskinita siya, guys. Parang kanang Crusaders daw to. Crusaders.
Even arrange not quite 4 times expensive. Generally arrange
You guys gonna want to see your
the authority of this place are not moving the property.
Crusaders naman to. Crusaders na sila.
One day we will look at
Sundan lang natin ito, guys. Natin ito, guys. Ang dilim, guys, walang ilaw. Dear visitors, during the tour you will be walking past synagogue in the western wall stones. Please dress modestly, speak softly, speak the sights foreigners. The house of God will be with our age. Alright, guys, very styling tayo dito. Slowly. Yan yung isa taas. Sa taas yan sa Muslim Quarter. Yung wow, ganda dito, guys, ganda. Beautiful. Beautiful dito, guys. Ganda, guys, ganda. Beautiful. Original to, guys. Oh. Parang na-recover nila. Na-recover nila, guys. Original.
The platform stayed, and the temple gets destroyed in 70 CE. The temple's gone, but this platform stays. So this platform is originally from the time of Herod, 2,000 years ago. And one of the nice ways we can understand when it was built is because of how it was built. Okay? Whenever you see this flat surface and this edge, this bevel, right, this gavet, you know that it's Herodian stone. and it was built 2,000 years ago. Okay? I mean, if Herod could have written his name on every stone, he probably would have. But this is much nicer. Okay, you can see what it looks like. And this stone up here is a very special stone. We're going to talk about it in a minute. But I wanted to show you it's got that same edge. However, on top, it doesn't have the edge. It doesn't have this bevel because it was destroyed. Okay, it was destroyed when the Romans destroyed the temple. They start destroying the retaining wall. Okay, so they get to this stone and they try, and then they give up because it's so big. Okay, the second way we know it's Herodian building is because of how it's built. It's built with dry construction, which means it's stone on top of stone. Right? There's no cement. There's no glue to hold the stones together. It's just the weight of the stones that's holding everything down. Okay? These stones are between 3 and 4 meters deep. Okay, so for Americans about 10 to 12 feet. I'm about 5'5", so twice my height in this direction. Right? So you have to make a long, straight cut. Right? If you're not filling it with any kind of cement or mortar or anything in between, you have to make a strong, straight cut. You have to make very good right angles. Okay? If you look at how tightly these stones are put together, it's amazing. If you look at these right angles, it's also amazing. Right? There's nothing in between to fill in the gaps. It's just stone. Okay? The third way we know it's Herodian stone is that the stone on top is set back 2 centimeters from the stone beneath it. So it makes the bottom stone stronger because it's a little farther out, and it gives kind of like a step pattern. So the wall is more beautiful, right? Because you've got shadow, you've got depth. It's a more interesting wall. Okay? The fourth way we know it's Herodian stone is the size. Okay? These are quarried stones. They're taken out of the mountain, and they're shaped, and then they're put in the wall. Okay? This one stone, if I can get a volunteer, can you be my volunteer? If you look like, yeah, okay. You're going to go to the end of this stone, where it stops. Exactly. Okay, you stay there. I need somebody on this side to go. Okay, thank you. Go all the way down till you see the stone stop. Exactly. Okay, between these two people is one stone. Okay, this is one large stone between these two people, right? 14 meters across. Again, 3, thank you. You don't have to stay there, you're good. Thank you. Between 3 and 4 meters deep, and at one point, most likely about 3 meters tall. Okay, this stone, like we said before, weighs 570 metric tons. A crane today can take about 325 metric tons. Right? Wow, it's a lot of weight. It's a lot of weight. And if you notice, it's on top of smaller stones. And the wall goes much farther down. We're sort of in the middle. Like this is new, right? This is a new floor. This is built in the 80s, 1980s. So the real floor is all the way down. So this is sort of in the middle of the wall, on top of smaller stones. How'd they get this big stone here? Okay. You think you know? Okay. Just don't say aliens, because people do. They say aliens. So yeah, sometimes they say aliens. Maybe. You never know. Okay. So most likely it was quarried in the northwest corner where I took off that piece of mountain. I said they used this for stone. Most likely that's where the stone came from, and they just brought it downhill. And they had lots of slaves, they had lots of oxen, and they had lots of time. So between the three, among the three, they moved it downhill. The fact that it's on smaller stones, I was always curious about this. So most likely, you know when you play with Legos, right? If there's a dip, you put the small stones in, and then as soon as it gets flat, put that large piece of Lego to hold it down, or that large stone to hold it down. So that's what they think, currently, that's what they think this stone is about. It's holding down some of the smaller stones underneath and acts as a weight to make sure everything's stable. Okay? They found large stones on the southern side, the retaining wall on the southern side. Not so much on the eastern wall. The northern wall we don't know because the Mamelukes have covered it over from the 1300s. Questions? How many? So we don't know because we've only excavated certain parts. But this is the biggest. This is one of the biggest in the world from the ancient time. There's another stone that's roughly the same size in Lebanon called Baalbek, but this is unusually large. Okay. Yes. Question in the back.
Is there any idea about what the notches in the side
Okay,
of the
the
stone
notches.
are?
Yeah, the notches are great. It's not a climbing wall, right? Most people know. It's not just a place to put those little notes either. Okay, I know that sometimes you can see little notes stuck in here. The Romans destroyed the temple in 70 CE, right? They stick around, and then the Roman pagans become Roman Christians. The Byzantine period is from about the middle of the 300s to about 638 here in Jerusalem. They want to build a water reservoir, a pool, to collect as much water as they possibly can. Now remember, this goes much farther down. They need to waterproof limestone. Limestone is very porous. The water is just going to flow through. So they have to put some kind of a plaster or some kind of something to waterproof, to make sure that the water's not going to go through. It's very hard to waterproof this flat stone. So what they do in the Byzantine times is they get this rough stone material, rough rock and glue and sand, cement, and they stick it onto the wall. And they let it dry. And we've got the plaster that goes on top. Okay, you can see more plaster over there. These things are like, if you've gone to IKEA, right, and you ever get like a bunk bed or a desk, and you get those little wooden pieces, right, that connect the wood until you screw in the screw. That's what this is. It's like stone dowels that are holding on this rough rock submixture, and then the plaster goes on top. So, you know, this floor is a new floor. The reservoir went all the way down. It was quite a large reservoir. And you can see where it stops when these things stop. When they were coming in to excavate, right, the Western Wall, the archaeologists, they took off some and they left some. And then they tried to expose as much of the natural Herodian stone as they could. Okay, good? All right, so going forward, there are people that come on my tour that don't care what I have to say. They just want to get to this place that we're coming up to next, okay? What we're coming up to is this place near the Holy of Holies, okay? Now, if you would take the Holy of Holies and you would come out along to this pathway where we are, it's about 80 meters from our path to the closest that you can get to the Holy of Holies. Let me back up. What's the Holy of Holies and why does it matter? Okay. Jews all over the world, when we pray facing Jerusalem, okay? No matter where we are. So we can be turned to the south, to the north, to the east, to the west, wherever we are in the world, our focus is Jerusalem. What do you do if you're already in Jerusalem? Where do you direct your prayer? Where do you turn? Right, the Holy of the Holies, right? You direct it towards this area here. Because the foundation stone that we talked about at the very beginning, the Eben HaShatia, right, is still there. In fact, if you want to get a good picture of the foundation stone, just Google Dome of the Rock. The Dome of the Rock is not a mosque, it's a shrine. It's a shrine that protects that foundation stone, okay? It's called Es-Sahra, right? So this place is still a special, mystical, spiritual place for everybody, for Jews, Christians, and for Muslims. So the closer that we can get to it, the more powerful that spiritual connection is. So if you can imagine that you can walk along and come to the place that's the closest that we can get to without going onto the Temple Mount directly, then it's a pretty important place for Jews all over the world and for everyone. So we're going to come up to an area that's called Warren's Gate. In times of Herod, it was an open gate that people could walk through, walk up steps, and then walk onto the Temple Mount. Okay? Nowadays, it looks like an archway, like a gate that's been patched up about 43 years ago, which is what happens. We'll talk about that later.
Yung pinakamalaking bato guys sa buong mundo. The biggest stone in the world. Pero ang pagkaalam ko yung butas-butas nun paano to kuan guys, ano to, hinawakan ng kwan tapos binaba. Yan ang pagkaalam ko sa mga butas na to guys. Yung mga butas na to guys. So ang haba nito guys, yung bato na to malaki. Yan ang ini-imagine ko guys, yung mga butas na to parang yun yung lock para mahawakan yung bato na pala ilagay sa pisto. Pero ito walang butas eh. Ano pa? Ano kaya ito guys? Galing guys, oh, parang may...
This is the third degree.
Yeah, what is this?
It's called a raised face. So what he did is he just made this pretty, you know, like when we make cabinetry or anything like with wood. He just makes this part stick out.
Ah, okay.
So you can see that the
Ah,
stone.
okay, see the stone.
They see how they just shave this off so they get every stone. Look at this one, it's small. You can see the whole stone is all the way around. It's
Wow.
not that big.
Yeah, thank you.
All these stones.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, that's fine.
Then I can have your clothes. Elias Emilian Jacob was this the same opposite holy of the holies. The same opposite of the holy of the holies was removed in holy of the holies. Go to the holiest of the holies. Yes.
You can see where the buckets were. And when the Mamluks built up, they built right against the western wall, right? And they used the western wall as part of their water cistern, or their room, or their home, or their shop, or whatever it was. They just used the western wall as another one of their walls. Okay? For us, it's different. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that area that we passed, that the place of Warren's Gate. Okay, Warren's Gate was found by a man named Charles Warren. They named it after him. Okay, Warren is here in the 1860s. He's here with the Palestine Exploration Fund. He's a British guy. He's a major. He's a fascinating person, and his method of digging is to dig shafts. Right? He was here exploring ancient Jerusalem. He would dig straight down, dig a shaft, look around, see if something was interesting, and if not, he would come back up, move over, and do the same thing. He asks the Ottoman governors, can I dig on the Haram al-Sharif, can I dig on the Temple Mount? And they say, no, right? You cannot dig here on the Temple Mount. So he says, okay, can I dig in Jerusalem? And they say, we don't really trust you, you're British. So what we're going to do is move, you can dig 40 feet away from the western wall, okay? Warren says, okay, no problem. He digs down. What does he do when he's underground?
Goes over.
Anything he wants, right? So he does. He goes over, and, he finds this area, and, it's been covered, but he knows that from the original temple, from Herod's temple, it was an open gate that people would go through and up onto the Temple Mount. He also knows that it's the holiest place to be because it's right next to the Holy of Holies. And the Holy of Holies, in the time of King Solomon's temple, is where the Ark of the Covenant stood. Okay? In the King Solomon's temple, they brought the Ark of the Covenant, the Aron HaBrit, into the temple and put it on top of the foundation stone in a room called the Holy of Holies. Okay? Now, we lose track of it when King Solomon's temple is destroyed by the Babylonians in 586 BCE, right? They don't know what happened to it, and there are a bunch of theories. One theory is that it was taken by the Babylonians. They took it to Babylonia, and then the Persians conquered the Babylonians, and the Persians took it, and it went here and there, and who knows where. That's theory number one. Theory number two is put forth by Maimonides. Okay, Maimonides says no. We have a tradition that says that when King Solomon built the first temple, underneath the first temple were tunnels and chambers, right? Limestone has a lot of tunnels and chambers anyway. There were tunnels and chambers, and when it looked like the ark was, or the temple was in danger, King Josiah, King Yoshiahu would have hidden the ark underneath the temple, which means that it would still be on the other side of the wall. Okay? Many people are very curious about where the Ark of the Covenant could be. Right? Most recently in 1981, there were people here and they were digging and they started to go dig through into underneath the dome of the rock, underneath the Haram. And so word got out, right? The Arabs were not happy, many Jews were not happy, and Menachem Begin was the prime minister at the time. He was certainly not happy, and he made a deal with the Muslim religious authorities, the Waqf, to seal off Warren's Gate, to close it up. So ever since 1981, it's been closed, and the mystery is still a mystery. Okay, you'll notice over here that this is the Western Wall, but it's not Herodian stone. If you look down, you'll see that there's Herodian stone down below. And as we go along, you'll see that there's more Herodian stone as we go into the tunnels. What happened? There was an earthquake in 1033. And in 1033, they didn't have fresh Herodian stone. They just fixed it with the stone that they had at the time. And they also put the border, you can see that there's cement, right? They fixed it as they would something in 1033. This was an area of prayer. It was called the Cave Synagogue up until then. And then it was destroyed in the earthquake. We're going to go through here. Okay, there are two windows in the street. One window shows the Herodian stone where it fell. The next window shows street level starting to run.
Holy of the Holies. Oh, ang taas. Grabe. Taas na
Wow,
yun.
it's way down there.
Yun yung talagang pag-dish niya sa baba guys. So yung bato pala nun guys. So ano nila nilagari to? Nilagari nila yung bato. Nilagari nila yung bato. Hindi natin alam guys kung paano.
More stable than
Yun guys. So, ang lalaking bato. Paano nilagari to guys? Ito parang tinukulan na ng saminto. Kaya safety siya. Sis. O parang nila in-strip pala binutas-butas nila guys. Minamitan ng
You can see the raised faces.
parang na hinagay niya.
This at the end, see, 2 centimeters back, he said, and this is another Herodian stone. That's what she said, this whole part will be seen. So here's the great room. And this is I remember about the facility. I remember about the day.
Iniisip mo sa guys. Mukhang imposible kaya lang tignan mo.
Well, that's a Herodian stone crash. That's probably got thrown off.
Nasira guys.
Yeah, like a lot of time. Just as she said, muscle and time were her answers. And I would.
May parang design siya guys. Parang ano to? Tiles.
Just get him and then.
Parang flat talaga siya na pinatong guys. Herodian Masonry. Yan. Herodian Masonry. Parang ang galing pala ng pagka-mason noon guys. Masonry. Yung palang itong gawain ng mga Herodian guys. Herodians. Ang galing pala ng mga Herodians guys. Ang galing nila guys. Ito yung wall view. Ang haba ng wall ng temple guys. Ito yung wall ng temple guys. Sister. Evidence of the building above. The Jivan sister. Yes.
It's not weird that they can move these things around. I think month just to move on them.
Isipin nyo kung paano to ka-strict guys. Ginamitan ng
Maybe a month for a team. Maybe a month.
ginamitan ng label.
I don't know.
String siguro. Tali nun guys. Ito guys na ako na to. Renovate na to. Inayos to. Para maayos yung daanan guys.
For these?
See, because you can see a little bit of the road. See this tiny road?
Tignan nyo guys. So, ang haba pala nito guys. Hirujan Masudri.
Rollers.
Ang galing guys. Galing.
You have sand, sleds, roller sand, and temporary hills, right? So if you're coming down,
Palang tinabunan ito noon guys. Hinukay nila guys. Hanggang sa tagpuan na to. Original siya. Ano kaya ito guys? An ancient guardrail. Ancient guardrail. Original street.
Okay, everybody, come on in, come on in. Okay. So basically, where are we, right? As our path is relatively straight, the mountain is rising. So at a certain point, we're going to be standing on the street level from the ancient times that, was sitting on top of the mountain. Imagine this area in open air, right? This is much more recent. This is Mamluk, built in the 1300s, okay? This was all outside. This is street level from Second Temple period. Everybody in the Second Temple period was walking along this street. Original stones on the floor. Okay? This is the Pilgrim's Road. The Pilgrim's Road actually started in the city of David, goes all the way up along the western side of the temple, underneath the Great Bridge, and we're now right here at the end. It's the end of the road. Okay, we're right here at the end of the road, and we're standing on the original pavements. Okay, it's pretty cool. This is like pavement you can touch. Okay. Now it's interesting when you look up, you can see how this became enclosed. Right. When we talk about the Mamluks building and covering over everything, you get a real good sense of it here because it looks like they just attached their arch, their vault, into the western wall. Now they have cities. The city is above us. We're underground still. There are people who are living and working all the way up above on top. Right? We're still inside the tunnel. As the excavators are pushing through, right? They're staying alongside the western wall in the 1980s, the 1990s. They're staying alongside the western wall, and they're constantly making sure that the buildings up above are going to be strong. You'll see a lot of steel beams, right? Because when the excavators come in, they're digging out and they're holding up. They're digging out and holding up so that the houses and the buildings up above are strong. They remain, their foundations are good. Okay? Now, if you look over here, you're going to see that there's a mystery in the room. Okay? There's a mystery because it looks like things aren't finished. Right? We've got these paving stones that are not set into the walkway, into the street. 1, 2, 3, the one I'm standing on. They're very nice. They look like they're ready to go, but they haven't been put into the street. We have this part of the mountain. It looks like somebody started to quarry it, to take it off, but nobody finished. We have these columns. These are part of a pool. Okay? Now, this column over here has that protrusion, exactly, that knob. Okay? Sometimes, very occasionally, those were used for decorative reasons, for decoration. Most of the time, they were used as handles. So you've got another one of those knobs on the other side of that column. And you can see that there are different layers in this column. The stonemasons would keep those knobs on and use them with ropes. They would put the ropes around the knobs. They would use a pulley. They would lift the stone, move the stone to where they wanted it, set it down, take off the rope, and smooth off the knobs. So the fact that this wasn't finished, it's like people were working here on Friday. Everybody went home for the weekend, and nobody showed up the next day. Right? Nobody showed up on Monday. So why? historians have to do a little backtracking. They have to think, okay, so Herod started this building in 20 BC. Okay, now he dies in 4 BCE. So only 16 years of it was finished. It takes another at least 50, 60, 55 years to finish this whole project. In fact, this building, as it looks in the picture, was only around for about 10 years. Right? A little bit more than 10 years before it's destroyed by the Romans. Okay? It takes a long time to build a building this size. Okay? When the historians see these things were unfinished, they say, maybe Herod died. And when Herod died, the building went somewhere else, right? The guys working in this area, they said, you know what, there's more important stuff we've got to do. Let's leave this, we'll come back to it later, maybe, and we're going to move on somewhere else. Because if Herod were still alive, there's no way this would be undone, right? There's no way it would be done like half-baked, right? Everything would have to be just perfect. Okay. Any questions while we're here? We're going to be waiting for this film. We're going to see a short film about how they could have moved these stones, and then we're going to be walking through a water channel. It's dry. There's no water in the water channel, but it was carved originally from the Maccabees before Herod, and it was used for bringing water into the temple. Once they leave, we're going to go. These stones, I don't know exactly how they were found. I mean, they might have been found stacked on top of each other, but these were from Second Temple times, but they weren't put in the street. It would seem to me that they were going to keep moving forward, but they stopped somehow, and they had the paving stones ready to set into the street, but they never did. And don't
Malaki yan guys, hindi mabuhat yan. Yan. Parang hindi pa ito nag-in sila guys dito.
Right, so these are our guards, which means we're going back through this way. We're not going out the other way. No? Yeah.
Grace natural rock. This natural rock was this as
Time flies and you're having fun. Okay. All right.
oh, we're going up.
All right, so
Wow.
this is a short film. So that's what
Alright guys. Manunod tayo ng movie daw guys. Manood tayo ng sine. Manood tayo ng sine. Manood tayo ng sine guys. Ginawa. Parang daw ginawa ito guys.
So the reason they show this movie here instead of where the big stone is because we're standing in one of the quarries. And you can see down below where they've started but didn't finish. Okay, we're going to go through that dry water channel. It gets a little narrow and then it opens up. We're still underground. The city is still above us. And you can see it was started in the time of the Hasmonean
And
Yeah.
were all of those hypotheses, or were some of those proven? How did they do?
That's a really good question. They knew about pulleys, they knew about fulcrums and levers, those are Roman, those are Roman engineering.
Yeah.
Right, so, you know, did they look like that with the socks on?
Right.
Probably not. And a lot of that, I think a lot of that does make sense.
Yeah.
Whether the people look this way, they use more oxen, more slaves, I don't know.
Yeah.
They did do scaffolding, and they did the hammering, right, the edge, once it was in place. They didn't try to do it far.
Thank you.
Ito isang init guys. Tignan natin yung anong klase guys. So, ganito na siya. Kung napanood mo na to guys, pero to guys, tinitik mo.
That's possible. That's possible. Yeah. We can still have you no problem.
Alright guys, ang galing guys. Ayun napan guys, super galing.
They could have done that math, but all the small ones would have been filled in that way. So you got.
Super galing guys, super galing. Quarry. This is the quarry stones for constructing the retaining walls of the Temple Mount were extracted from the quarry. Yan guys, tuloy pa rin tayo sa wall. Yung pinagtitik-tik nila noon guys, oh. Kaya po guys. May butas na. Paano kung ba't ito pinutasan guys, ano? So may butas. Pagpatungan siguro yun guys. Galing guys. Ayos, nag-enjoy ba kayo guys? Ito, ano to? Aqueduct. Aqueduct was built to channel flood waters from the area north of Prison. Okay, aqueduct tayo guys. Bato to guys ha. Buong bato. Guys. Galing guys. Ang pinupuntahan natin guys sa baba ng Old City guys to. Sa taas niyan guys, yung surface niya guys. Kaya lang doon kasi guys natabunan to, kaya yun ni-recover siya, nag-recover. Wala, ngayon na nakikita natin guys. Nakikita natin yung lugar noon guys dito. Grabe, ang ganda guys.
down to
Aqueduct.
attack.
Yung aqueduct.
So Herod builds the Antonia Fortress, and he builds a moat of water around the Antonia Fortress to protect it, right? Multiple layers of protection. It doesn't work. The Romans get in, right? They get over the moat, they get into the Antonia Fortress, and then they conquer the temple, right? It's pretty easy to go straight into the temple. The Romans destroy the temple in 70 CE, 70 AD, and from there the Jews run into the countryside. Jews revolt again in 132 CE or AD, right? 132 is called the Second Great Revolt, also known as the Bar Kokhba Revolt, named after the leader Shimon Bar Kokhba. When the 132 rebellion occurs, the emperor is Hadrian. Hadrian has had it with the Jews. Hadrian wants a quiet Roman Empire. He doesn't want somebody constantly rebelling. So he decides to put down this rebellion hard. He brings his best general from Britain, from Roman Britain, all the way down through Roman Europe into the Roman Middle East. This man's name was Julius Severus. Severus comes here and he puts down the rebellion hard. And Hadrian changes the rules. He says, okay, as of 135, no more Jews allowed in Jerusalem. He said, we're going to change the name of the city. No longer is it called Jerusalem, it's called Aelia Capitolina. He changes the way the city looks. He puts vaults on top of the moat. He doesn't need the moat anymore. He won, right? So he covers over this water with a marketplace. He puts a marketplace up above, which is still kind of there, right? Because the Muslim show is up above. And he changes the name of the country. No longer is it called Judea. He takes the biblical enemies of the Jews, the Philistines, or the Philistines, and he changes the name of the country from Judea to Palestina. Okay, so Palestina, or Palestine, is a name that's been in the area for 1900 years. Okay, so who finds this? Charles Warren, right? Our guy who digs these trenches, he digs these shafts, he comes down. He writes about this in his diary, Charles Warren. Comes down in 1868. He lands, but he doesn't land in water. This area is not being used for water. It's being used for sewage, for poo, okay? So he falls in poo, essentially, right? Wet poo, not wet poo. You get the idea. But that's not going to stop him. He takes a wooden door that floats, and he and his assistant bring candles in the 1860s. They have candles. And they float around, they float through that water channel, and they measure, and they survey, until they get an understanding of what this looks like. Now, on this side of the wall, we have neighbors. These neighbors are called the Sisters of Zion. It's a convent. The convent's been here since 1850. The Sisters of Zion, the nuns, they hear noises in their basement, right? And the noises in their basement, they have a little concern. So some of them come downstairs, and they see these two men floating on a board underneath their convent with candles. So they flip out, right? And Warren describes that they start building a wall between their side of the Struthers Pool and this side. When the excavators in the 1990s, 1980s, 1990s are coming through, they ask the Sisters of Zion, could we use your basement to bring all the tourists outside to the street? And they said, no, too many people, that's not what we do. So instead, the excavators blast through bedrock of the mountain in order to go out onto the Via della Rosa. Okay, so those two guys we saw walking with dark shirts, right? Those guys are the guards. We're all going to be, they close the door. We're all going back this direction to the west. Okay, so I want to leave you with a blessing, and then I want you to leave the city of Jerusalem with a blessing. My blessing to you is that while we have 4 different cultures here in the Old City. The Old City is 1 square kilometer. We have Armenians, we have Christians, we have Muslims, and we have Jews. So my blessing to you is that you are a good neighbor and you be a good neighbor, right? And that everybody would have good neighbors, because we can use good neighbors at this time in the world, okay? Thank you so much. And we're going to go this way to go out.
Alright guys.
Okay, you're going to have to follow
Tapos na yata tayo guys. Tapos na tayo guys. Tingnan natin sa kabila nga kung ano to guys. Parang tubig yata. Paglagyan ng tubig guys. Magsiswimming tayo guys dito. Swimming guys, swimming. Ayan, guys. Aqua. Parang tissue. Dating kanya guys. Ay, nakita nyo na guys yung aqua. Right, ang galing guys. Ang galing dito sa ano nila ginawa to guys. Makikita nyo talaga na original yung original niya guys. At least palabas na tayo guys. Tapos na tayo. Tapos na tayo. Nag-enjoy ba kayo? Alright guys.
But no announcement for now. So I will report to you about that.
To the entrance of the Temple Mount. Oh, guys. Tingnan nyo guys yung isang patong guys. Oh. May 1.5 inch. Hindi siya nakatapat guys. Yung isang patong may half inch. Alright, tinisin yung alap natin. Habang pumapasok siya, lumiliit siya kasi lumiliit din yung bato. So ito guys. Tapos na tayo. Welcome to na, exit na tayo guys. Exit. Ayan. Uy, anong oras na guys? Almost 8. Thank you sir, thank you sir. Paglabas natin guys, yun yung Western Wall. Nung lumabas tayo guys, pumasok tayo 6:40. Anong oras na? Alas 8 na guys ng gabi. Alas 8 ng gabi guys. Yan. Magwakas tayo ng kamay natin guys para sabi nila maghugas ng kamay dito. Dalawa yung kamay, dalawa yung panyo. Isa dito ang kanyang tapos okay. Kaya pang ganyan lang. Kaya dalawa yung kanya guys. Alright, para tour ko kayo sa wall para may compare natin yung bato dito sa tanong to guys. Ito kipa. Ito yung kipa, magkipa tayo para may compare ko sa inyo guys yung anong tawag dito, may compare ko yung batos doon sa pinuntahan natin, tapos dito. Guys, nakita natin. Ito meron din. Sa nyo guys ito, yung sa kanila Pinas. Tapos may half inch din siya. Half inch papasok guys. Hindi siya straight guys. Half inch, 1 inch papasok. Kita. Alright guys, nakita nyo na yung wall na to hindi lang siya bato na may design din siya. Ang galing guys. Alright guys, tapos na tayo dito sa Western Wall. Yung paglalabas na ako patras para kita nyo din ang status. Yes. Alright guys, tapos na natin yung wishing wall. Babalik natin yung kipa guys. And salamat, thank you.
Hello, my dear.
Alright guys, tapos na tayo dito sa Western Wall in the Western Tunnel. Alright, nag-enjoy tayo guys, sobra. Ibang experience din doon kasi makita mo yung talagang yung parang nawala siya tapos nahanapan ulit. You enjoy to the tunnel of Western Tunnel. You see all the places that have been dug out. Yes. Ito nagpapaalam na yung Cognac Fell here in Jerusalem. Bye bye. See you in the next one. Peace. Bye.